Every August in the Philippines, people burn incense, leave food on the sidewalk, and keep their lights on after dark. Because the ghost month is the one time of year when the dead are allowed to come home. But what Rosa did not know when she moved into that apartment was that the thing living next door was not a ghost at all. And if you have ever had a neighbor who watched you a little too long and never once blinked, how sure are you that you know what they really are? Rosa found the apartment in August and told herself the timing was fine. A lot of people in Metro Manila were superstitious about Ghost Month. They said you should not move into a new home when the gates of the spirit world were open and the hungry dead were walking the streets. But Rosa needed the place. The rent was low, the unit was dry, and the building sat on a quiet street in an older part of the city where the houses pressed close together and thick trees hung over the narrow road. And she signed the papers on a Tuesday and carried her boxes in that same afternoon with the smell of incense already drifting through every crack in the walls. The building had 6 units and Rosa was in number 4. Her neighbor to the right was a young couple who worked night and were never home before midnight. Her neighbor to the left was an old woman. Rosa first saw her on moving day, standing at her own door with her arms at her sides, watching. The woman was very small and very thin, and with the white hair pinned flat and skin the color of old paper. She did not smile or wave. She looked at Rosa the way you look at something that has drifted into your yard and that you have not decided what to do with yet. Rosa smiled and said, hello across the courtyard. The old woman went inside and closed her door without a word. That first night, the smell came through the thin shared wall. Thick, sweet incense, the kind burned at ancestor shrines all through Ghost Month. Rosa told herself it was normal. She opened her window for fresh air and fell asleep. Kiko did not sleep. He paced the bedroom floor for 2 hours, stopping at the same invisible point, 1 arm's length from the shared wall, backing away, then doing it again with his tail low and his ears flat. Once he made a sound she had never heard from him before, wet and short from low in his chest. She told him firmly to stop. He went to the far corner, pressed his back against the opposite wall, and fixed his eyes on the shared wall, and did not move until morning. Rosa told herself the cat could hear the old woman on the other side. She pulled the blanket up and closed her eyes. The incense smell was still there, and underneath it something else. Something sweet in a different way, like fruit left out one day too long. On the 5th night, just after 11, the murmuring started. The same short phrase repeated in a flat, steady rhythm over and over like a record that never moved forward. Then it stopped all at once, and the silence that followed felt solid, like a door shutting on something. Rosa looked up from the bathroom sink, and through the small frosted window above it she could see down into the dark courtyard below. The old woman was standing in the yard, still, arms at her sides, staring directly up at Rosa's lit window, not blinking, not moving at all. Rosa stood with her toothbrush in her hand for a full minute before she could make herself step back. That was the first time she understood that something was not just strange, it was wrong in a way she did not have a good word for. Rosa told herself by morning that she had imagined the stillness, that the old woman had blinked and she had simply missed it. By the time the sun was up and she could hear the old woman outside hanging laundry in the white August heat, moving slow and stiff the way elderly people move, Rosa had almost convinced herself it was nothing. She made coffee, fed Kiko, and went to work. The bundle was on her doorstep when she got back that evening. Small enough to miss in poor light, a tight knot of dark dry leaves tied with rough string sitting flat against the base of her door. She picked it up because something about its placement bothered her, the deliberateness of it. The leaves were brittle and dry, and in the center, tucked in tight, was a small piece of dried meat she could not identify. The smell was not quite rotten, but it was wrong. Knew the way a room smells wrong when someone sick has been sleeping in it too long. She dropped it in the trash and told herself it was a ghost month offering. Old folk practice, probably meant as kindness. On the third evening she found another one, same bundle, same string, same smell. But this time two things were tucked inside. A short curl of hair that was not Rosa's color, and a folded square of thin paper covered in marks she did not recognize. Why, she stood in the hallway holding it for a long time. She threw it away, but she took a photo first. Her hands were not quite steady when she pressed the button. She texted Marisol that night and described everything. Marisol sent back laughing faces and told her August always made people jumpy. She was 5 months pregnant, round and comfortable, and in too good a mood to take anything seriously. She said she would come over Saturday with food and bad movies, and Rosa would stop scaring herself. Rosa agreed and felt relieved just to have a plan. Marisol arrived at 3 in the afternoon with 2 bags of takeout and a big laugh that filled the small unit. They went downstairs to check the mailbox, and that was when the old woman appeared, sitting outside her door in a plastic chair. Her eyes went straight to Marisol, down to her belly first, then up to her face, and then they stopped moving entirely. No blinking, no expression. Only just the stillness of something that had found exactly what it was looking for. Marisol's fingers closed hard around Rosa's wrist. She said quietly, "Let's go back upstairs." Rosa had known her since they were 12 years old and had never once heard her use that particular small pressed-down voice. They went inside. Rosa locked the door. After 10 silent minutes, Marisol said, "She was looking at my stomach, Rosa. She said it like a fact and a terrible thing at the same time." Rosa had no answer because she had seen it too. They left the lights on in every room that night. They ate takeout noodles on the floor with their backs against the sofa, facing the door, talking loudly about small things on purpose. Marisol's baby shower, a mutual friend's new job, the bad movie they had just watched. But both of them were listening underneath all the talking. Rosa could feel it in the way they kept pausing mid-sentence, tilting their heads, monitoring the silence around the words. Kiko had not moved from his corner since Marisol arrived. He crouched there with his chin low and his eyes locked on the shared wall, and Rosa had stopped pretending that was normal. The sound started just after midnight. It came from outside and above the window. A soft, dry clicking, patient and slow and very faint. Tick, 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 like one fingernail dragged carefully across a hard surface over and over in no hurry at all. Rosa and Marisol looked at each other across the room. Neither of them moved. Rosa had heard the word tick-tick her whole life. Every Filipino child had. The old people said it was a trick. The sound always seemed faint and far away. But faint meant close. The farther it sounded, the farther away it actually was. When the clicking grew so soft you could barely hear it, the creature was nearly on top of you. And when the sound stopped completely, it was directly overhead. The clicking stopped. Rosa crossed to the window and looked down into the courtyard without turning on the outside light. The street lamp on the road was out. She did not remember it being out the night before. And then she saw what was standing in the yard, and her brain took 2 full seconds to understand it, because what she was seeing had no ready category in her mind. A pair of legs stood in the middle of the courtyard. Just legs, bare, upright, perfectly still. The waist ending in a ragged dark edge where a body should have been. No torso, no arms, no head, just legs standing patient in the still, the way a person waits with nowhere urgent to be. Above the building, growing smaller and farther, she heard a sound that was not quite a bird, wet and low, fading into the August dark above the city. Rosa locked the window. She turned back. Marisol was already on her feet with both hands pressed flat against her belly, her face the color of uncooked rice. She had seen it too. Rosa grabbed her phone and called her Uncle Nanding. He answered on the first ring. When she told him what she saw, he did not pause or question her. He said, "Listen to me carefully, and do not open that door until I tell you what to do first." Uncle Nanding's voice was low and steady on the phone, the voice of a man who had decided long ago to be useful inside his fear. He said the creature Rosa saw was a manananggal, an old thing, older than any religion that had ever come to the islands. It separated its upper body from its lower half at night so it could fly and hunt while its legs stayed behind and waited. He said the bundles at Rosa's door were never offerings. They were markers. The creature had been placing her scent on the unit, the way you mark a path you plan to return to. And the Marisol, young, healthy, 5 months along, was exactly what a Manananggal hunted most. On it had been circling toward her from the moment she arrived. Rosa's hand shook against the phone. She asked what to do. Her uncle told her clearly the lower half of the creature was still in the yard. That was the only opening. A Manananggal could not survive sunrise if it could not rejoin its legs. The way to stop it was to make that reunion impossible. Table salt, he said. A full cup at minimum, packed heavily across the cut edge of the separated waist. It was if it could not rejoin its legs before the sky began to lighten, it would not survive the morning. He said, "Go now, while it is still out hunting." This was the window. Rosa told him she was afraid to go outside. He said he understood that completely and that she still had to go. She grabbed the largest container of salt from her kitchen cabinet, almost full, bought last week for no particular reason, which later felt like the only lucky thing in this whole story. She took Marisol's hand. Marisol's grip was so tight it left marks. They went down the outside steps together into the dark courtyard. The legs were still there. In the thin light from Marisol's phone, they were pale and very wrong and very still, the ragged upper edge dark and glistening. Rosa walked towards them without letting herself stop to think. She poured salt in a thick ring around the waist and then packed more directly onto the open edge with her palm, her whole arm shaking, her breathing loud in the quiet yard. Marisol prayed fast and low beside her. It took less than 2 minutes. They went back inside and locked every door and every window and sat on the floor with the lights on and did not sleep. Just past 4 in the morning, something came to the base of the front door. Scratching, frantic, then lower. Although then a sound, Rosa said, was the worst thing she had ever heard. Something between a scream and a noise with no name. That lasted 10 seconds and then stopped completely. Then silence. Then the first thin birds of early morning, which meant the sky was beginning. When the sun was fully up, Rosa opened the door. The courtyard was empty. The legs were gone. A wide dark stain sat on the ground where they had stood. The unit next door was silent. The old woman was never seen in that building again. Rosa tells this story now because every warning sign was there from day one. The cat at the wall, the murmuring, the staring figure in the yard, the bundles, the eyes that locked onto Marisol's belly and stopped. She says, the story was trying to tell itself to her the whole time. She just was not ready to listen. If you are in the Philippines in August and your animal will not go near a wall, we listen to the animal. She knows the truth now, not because someone told her. It's but because she poured salt on its legs in the dark and heard what the sunrise did to it. She hopes you never learn it the same way.